Hey guys, it's Jen from over at worldofjencraft.com, and this is our project for today. So I kept it pretty simple, and it's kind of like the shaker card that I did the other day, but it's not a shaker card. I kind of made it more to look like a stained glass window, and yeah, kept my embellishments like down to nothing. So there's a little pearl here in the center, just because I felt like everything that I tried to add to this card, it seemed to take away from the center image. So let's get started, and I will show you how I put it together. Like I said, it's very similar to the shaker card. We're just not adding any sequins into it. So starting with the supplies, I use the pearls. This is an older sheet because I'm still trying to use up what I have. And then the Lots of Lavender, which is a Sale-A-Bration item and is free with a $50 purchase now through March 31st if you are interested in that. The Eastern Beauty stamp set, and I used that for the hello that was in here because it was a tiny sentiment and I felt like it just was perfect for this. The Lots of Labels framelits dies. I have Versamark and Basic Black and Fresh Fig. So we're going to be doing some embossing today, along with some clear embossing powder. And I brought out my Stampin' Blends. You do not have to use Stampin' Blends. You can use any marker because we're just coloring on the back side of our image. But I have Old Olive and Rich Raspberry and Daisy. What is this called? Daffodil Delight, and all of these are the darks of the combos. And then I did brush on some Wink of Stella. And then the other thing that you're going to need is just some of these foam adhesive strips. For cardstock, it is Whisper White 4 1/4 by 11, scored at 5 1/2 for our card base, a 3 3/4 by 5, and then also a 3 1/2 by 4 3/4. Your vellum is also going to be 3 1/2 by 4 3/4, and I have a piece of Fresh Fig that is 4 by 5 1/4. Let's get started with the coloring and stamping and embossing first. So I'm going to grab out my stamp and our Versamark and the Basic Black, and I showed you guys how to emboss using the Versamark and the Basic Black, so that way I can use my clear embossing powder with it. And you can do that with any color. So if you wanted a red image, or if you wanted to emboss this in Fresh Fig, you just stamp it in your Versamark first, and then the color of ink that you want second. So I'm going to go ahead and ink this up. Get that pretty good. My pad's kind of seen its better days. And then I'm just going to go ahead and ink it up in my Basic Black. And I want to center this on my vellum as best I can. So I'm going to get in a little position so I can see it a little bit better. So I think this is it. And then when you stamp on the vellum, you want to make sure that you go straight down and don't move your block, because when you stamp on vellum, the ink is slippery on it, so it has a tendency to kind of just slide. Although I will say the Versamark does help for it to stick in place, but when I tried this with just the Basic Black, I had issues with my image smearing. So I'm going to go ahead and just put the clear embossing powder over this, and go ahead and put it back into the container. Try and get off some of the excess that's on my vellum, and I'm going to go ahead and heat emboss this. When you emboss, isn't that just absolutely beautiful? So when you emboss, you just want to make sure that you kind of have the light hit it just right, so you make sure that you have all of that powder completely melted with the heat gun. The other thing I wanted to mention as well is I did try this without the embossing, and you can certainly do that. It does still turn out just as beautiful, but when I tried it with the embossing, it just gave a crisper look to the overall image. And I think it just added extra detail that it didn't have before. So I'm going to flip this over, and this is where our coloring is going to come in. So I'm going to go ahead and color this all in, and it does take just a little bit, and I don't think you guys want to spend, 5 minutes just watching me color. So I'm going to go ahead and fast forward while I color. I'm coloring in the main flower with my dark rich raspberry, the leaves of course with the old olive, and the little bow here with the Daffodil Delight. Alright, isn't that just really pretty? I just love the way that turned out. So the next thing that we're going to do is I'm going to take our 3 3/4 by 5 and bring out the Big Shot. Oops. And we are going to just cut this in the center. So nothing special. We're just going to line this die up in the center of our paper. From this angle, it looks like it is centered, hopefully. Yep, I think so. We'll just go for it, huh? So this is what we'll have, and it's kind of hard to see, maybe from the video. I don't know if it'll focus in on that. But what I like about this is it actually leaves like a faint little edge from the edge of our die. And so it kind of looks like it's framed in a little bit when you're looking at it. So I'm going to just put some adhesive all along. I think I'm going to wait on that because, oh yeah, I do want to do that. All right. So we're going to put adhesive all along the very edge of this. And then I'm going to very carefully set this on top of here, just centering my flower, and kind of wanted to make sure that the top and the bottom where the curved areas are, this is kind of coming up a little bit. You just want to make sure that those are centered pretty good. So that looks about right. And then there's that. So the next thing that I want to do is stamp my sentiment, because I remembered on this card I forgot. Well, actually it was an afterthought. I wasn't even going to stamp a sentiment because I just couldn't find one that looked right. So I actually did this one after the fact, which thank goodness it worked, because I might have cried if it didn't after spending all that time on there. So this is just going to come stamped down right about here. And then you'll want to be careful with this because it is going to be wet for a little bit just because it's stamped on the vellum. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my heat gun and I'm going to dry this before I do anything else, because I'll show you why. Where did it go? I had another card made up and I was going to show you guys what it was, and now I can't find it. I'm sure it's somewhere here on my desk hidden away. So never mind, I won't show it to you. But I did do another card and I was almost done with it and I smeared it and it ruined it. So I'm going to blow this dry with the heat gun. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in my foam adhesive strips, and we're going to use about 1.5 of these. And this is just going to get lined up just on the inside here. And this, you don't have to be too particular with where these line up. A, because it's not going to show, and B, because we're not going to be putting any anything inside of it. So you don't have to worry about any of it falling out. So this is just going to get thrown on here. I love, love, love these adhesive strips. They are just the perfect size and the perfect height for doing these types of cards. Okay. So let's bring in, before we take all that off, I'm going to go ahead and bring in the rest of our card and just assemble this part. So our fresh fig is going to go on to our card base. Making sure that's in my camera view. So that's just going to go on here. And then the smaller Whisper White, the 3.5 by 4 3/4, is just going to go centered on there. So that's just going to go centered, and our larger piece is just going to cover directly over it. But I wanted to have a white background, so that's why I did this, and I made it a little bit smaller so that way I didn't have to worry about it really showing through when you're looking straight on at it. So let's go ahead and peel off the strips here. And I'm going to, of course you guys can't see, but I'm actually going to stand up and look over the top of it just to make sure that I'm getting this centered right, because the angle that I am, yeah, it's risky. I'm just going to smooth all that down and then go ahead and close up our card. And the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put one of these kind of medium-sized pearls. And this was on a strip that was all adhered together, but I just took my scissors and separated it. So just put that here in the center, and this is it. This is our card. So I thought it turned out just really elegant. It just reminds me of looking at like through a stained glass window. So thank you for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you like what you see, make sure to subscribe to my channel so you can get notifications for when I post my next tutorial. As always, dimensions and more details are, well, I don't know about more details, but dimensions, details, printable, downloadable, supply list with the dimensions and a picture of the card are available on my website, worldofgencraft.com, if you'd like to pop on over there and check it out. Thanks again for watching. I'll check you guys on my next tutorial. Bye.